But this was a pervasive feature of Greek philosophy. And Plato, in his book The Timaeus, talks about the conscious universe. What he says is, "This world came to be in very truth a living creature with soul and reason, a single visible living creature containing within itself all living things whose nature is of the same order." So this is a vision of the entire cosmos as a living being, a living organism. And this kind of view was inherited by medieval philosophers in Europe, in the universities and in the cathedral schools. They were also influenced very much by the philosophy of Aristotle, who thought that all living beings have souls. The soul is the form of the body. It's what shapes the body, and it's what attracts a being towards its end point. An acorn, as it germinates into an oak seedling, is pulled towards the mature form of an oak tree by the soul of the oak. So plants have souls, animals have souls, the planets have souls, the stars have souls, according to this view. In fact, the Greeks, including Plato, called the stars and the planets and the sun the visible gods. And indeed, we still call the planets by the names of the gods and goddesses, Venus, Mars, Mercury, and so on. So in medieval Europe, this was the standard worldview. Theologians like St. Thomas Aquinas integrated this Greek view, particularly Aristotle's view, with Christian theology to produce a view, an animistic view of nature. Nature is alive, the earth is alive, the planets and the stars are alive, they're conscious beings, the whole universe is a conscious being, animals and plants have souls, and the human rational mind is embedded in a level of the human soul which relates us to plants, which shaping our body. The vegetative soul shapes our bodies and underlies regeneration and wound healing. The animal soul that we share with animals, gives us our animal instincts and emotions like fear, hunger, thirst, sexual desire, and so on. But the rational mind is that which is specifically human and to do with conscious thought, language, and reason. And that was the standard view in the Middle Ages. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is because it's important to realize what a completely radical break the 17th century mechanistic revolution in science was, with everything that had gone before in our own culture and in all others. In the 17th century, the scientific revolution was a revolution precisely because it denied these traditional views. For the founders of modern science, nature was not a living organism, it was a machine. Animals and plants were not living organisms. They were machines, automata, unconscious, inanimate automata. The human body was a machine. And in the vision of René Descartes, who's founded this mechanistic philosophy most explicitly, the whole universe is made of inanimate matter, which works mechanically by pushing and by being pushed from the past through physical, mechanical causes. The stars and the planets are mechanical objects made of unconscious matter. The Earth's an unconscious object. Our body is, the animal bodies are, plants are. The only things that were not mechanical and unconscious in the universe were God, angels, and human minds. Basically, what Descartes did was deanimate the whole of nature, drain the soul out of the whole of nature, so that all was left in nature was inanimate matter. But outside nature were God, angels, and human minds. And God was supposed to have created the world machine in the first place by being a brilliant engineer and mathematician, pressed the start button, and then it was all supposed to go on more or less automatically thereafter. So we have an idea of completely autonomous, unconscious, mechanical universe, with the only role for God left to being to start it off and to interact with human minds, which were the only non-material things left in the universe. And this is Cartesian dualism, and it dominated science for the first 2 or 3 centuries of its existence. And it created 3 splits, really, a split between religion and science. Religion got God, angels, and human minds, and morality. Science got the entire physical universe, including the human body. It created a split between mind and body in ourselves, that our minds were somehow utterly separate from our bodies, but interacted with them in a way that was profoundly mysterious. He thought it happened in the pineal gland. Modern Cartesians think it happens in the cerebral cortex. It's basically the same theory. It's just moved a couple of inches. It also created a split between man and the animals. We have rational conscious minds and purposes. Animals don't. They're just machines. Therefore, we can treat them as cruelly as we like in vivisection experiments. We can grow them in factories for factory farming. They're just mechanisms. That's the view which dominated science right up until the 20th century.